this.
Well, two Louisiana politicians, one in New Orleans, the other in Congress, are trying to clarify some decisions and statements that drew swift criticism. As Tan Trung reports, the politicians responded quite differently.
In a recent interview in the Times-Picayune New Orleans Advocate about the recovery of the lower Ninth Ward, New Orleans City Council member Cindy Nguyen said, quote, "This is just a reality, okay? And this is not putting anybody down. I think people in the lower nine like those greasy fried chicken places," end quote. Nguyen quickly apologized, saying her words were, quote, "insensitive." She says she was trying to address the lack of businesses in what many consider a food desert.
She was right to apologize for it quickly, but I do think it's going to hurt her politically.
Political analyst Clancy Dubas says while the Democratic Nguyen offered an apology, Republican Congressman Steve Scalise took a less direct approach after he posted this video on Twitter Sunday.
Do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding for police?
Yes.
The video's message of Democrats supposedly supporting unrest is clear. But in the first version, Scalise used an interview between an ALS patient and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. The patient asks Biden if funding can be redirected elsewhere, but Scalise's video edited the words "for police" into the question. Twitter flagged the video as manipulated media. Andy Barkin, the ALS patient, quickly called out Scalise, tweeting in part, "You and your team have doctored words for your own political gain." As the backlash grew, Scalise's team told Eyewitness News that it simply condensed Barkin's words, and that's common to do in the media. Editing is a common practice in the news industry. What's not common is moving the content in one part of an interview and splicing it into another. Earlier today on Fox News, Scalise addressed the controversy.
Well, look, it shouldn't have been edited, but at the same time, the comments were always about, in fact, twice in that interview, he asked Joe Biden if he was for redirecting money away from police, and in both times, Joe Biden said yes.
Dubas says Scalise made the right move admitting to the mistake, but he failed to clarify the substance of the first video.
I think Scalise was trying to make a direct connection between Joe Biden and defunding police. The problem is Biden has said several times he does not support defunding the police.
Dubas says politics are so entrenched that the video probably didn't change many minds, but likely made people more skeptical of what they see and hear. Tan Trung, Eyewitness News.
Scalise took down the video Sunday night, and a spokesperson for the congressman says they have linked to Mr. Barkin's full interview to remove any confusion.